Welcome back to Opinion Journal Live. I'm Jason Riley, and joining me next to talk about drug laws and race is New York Post editorial writer Robert George. Welcome, Robert.
Good to be back here.
So, Robert, New York
Love
City.
the studio, by the way.
You do? Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
great.
Thank you. So, New York City police arrest an awful lot of people for marijuana possession, about 50,000 last year alone. And that's largely because of another policy that's in place in New York known as stop and frisk. What's the connection between the two here?
Okay. Stop and frisk. Police officers will, if they feel an individual is either acting suspiciously or fits a description of somebody who's been involved in a crime, will stop an individual, pat them down, ask them to open up their pockets to see if they've got any weapons, specifically guns, knives, and so forth. Now, this has been a controversial, a successful but controversial policy for several years because the largest impact it's been having is on African American and Hispanic men because the police officers are most often in neighborhoods that are high crime areas, and a lot of those happen to be minority communities.
Okay. So Andrew Cuomo has a proposal. Governor Andrew Cuomo has a proposal that's aimed at reducing the number of arrests for marijuana possession. Let's hear his justification for this new program.
There's a blatant inconsistency. If you possess marijuana privately, it's a violation. If you show it in public, it's a crime. It's incongruous. It's inconsistent the way it's been enforced. The problem is the law, and the solution is change the law.
Now, Governor Cuomo has said there's also sort of a racial justice issue here. He believes that the disproportionate impact on minorities is a problem and that the law should be changed as a result. And what I want to ask you, Robert, is are we discounting black behavior here? I mean, shouldn't our priority be to make sure that laws are equally enforced? I mean, the idea that we need to change a drug law because blacks can't seem to abide by anti-drug laws, I find problematic.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you in part. However, the unique problem we have here is that the way the law is structured in New York, if you are openly displaying drugs, obviously you can be arrested. However, because of stop and frisk, the individual ends up emptying his pockets, and he may have had marijuana on him, but because he's responding to a police officer's order, and he takes it out, he then puts the drugs out, and suddenly he can be arrested. Now, I agree with you that African Americans, Hispanic youth, they should be abiding by the law, but if you look at, say, like another neighborhood of, like, say, Williamsburg, for example, Williamsburg, Brooklyn, where there's less crime and there's less stop and frisk going on, I would imagine if there was as much stop and frisk, there'd be a lot of white hipsters who would also be arrested too. So there is a racial component that is more connected by the context of high crimes in minority neighborhoods, causing cops to stop and frisk and then finding the drugs. So I find what Cuomo is doing in terms of doing a de facto decriminalization it's problematic, but there is something of a legitimate point to what he's saying here.